Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a stack of sources that promise to, well, fundamentally change how you think about money, work, and even freedom. We're unpacking a really clear roadmap to what they call a rich, free life. And it all comes down to something called the simple path to wealth.
That's it, exactly. And our mission today is to cut through all the noise, all the financial jargon. This isn't about day trading or trying to find the next hot stock, not at all. It's about mastering a few core rules, almost boring rules, so that money stops being this source of stress and it actually becomes your servant, not your master.
I love that. And this whole philosophy, it didn't even start as a book, did it? It started as letters.
Yeah, letters from a father to his daughter. And she's the one who really kicked it all off. She just perfectly summed up this, modern anxiety. She just said, I just don't want to spend my life thinking about money.
And isn't that the goal for all of us? The freedom to not have to think about it?
That's the core emotion, right? The goal isn't just wealth. It's the freedom you get from simplifying the whole process. And it all boils down to just 3 guidelines.
Okay, what are they?
Spend less than you earn, invest the surplus, and maybe most importantly, ruthlessly avoid debt.
Let's start right there with debt, because that feels like the black hole that just sucks everything in for most people.
It is. If you're serious about this, you have to adopt a really stark view of debt, one that cuts through how normal it's become in our culture. The source material uses this great visual. It says, carrying debt is as appealing as being covered with leeches.
Oof, that's a strong image.
And it has the same effect, right? It just drains you. It suffocates your future.
And the scale of it is just, it's huge. The sources point to Americans carrying something like $12 trillion in debt.
A massive number. But the really insidious part is how it feels personally. When you have debt, you can have a high salary, a nice life, but if your lifestyle matches that income,
You're trapped.
You're a gilded slave. That's the term they use. You're enslaved to your job because you have to service that debt every single month. It just strips away all your options.
That feeling is so real, the pressure cooker. But the sources, they really drill down on one type of debt in particular, student loans. Why are they so much worse?
Because they carry this unique and honestly disturbing danger. Unlike almost any other debt, they survive bankruptcy.
Wait, they survive bankruptcy?
They follow you to the grave. The government can garnish your wages, even your Social Security. But the real danger highlighted is, well, it's historical. The sheer ease of getting these loans has completely broken the cost of college.
The inflation rate. That data point was just stunning.
It's jaw-dropping. So between 1970 and 2014, the cost of college went up 33-fold.
33.
Right. And in that same time, the general inflation rate for everything else, only 6-fold. The availability of easy loans let colleges raise prices 5 times faster than anything else. It's a tragedy, really.
So getting those leeches off is step 1. And once you do that and you start building a surplus, that's when you can start working toward what the sources call FU money.
It's the best term in finance. Because it's not about being rich, it's about being free. It's just enough money to say no to an unfair boss, to bad working conditions, to a job you hate. It buys you options.
It's about buying options, not things. I love that little anecdote in there about the first $5,000 someone saved.
Yeah, at age 25.
It wasn't retirement money. It was freedom money.
That's it. So they asked their boss for 4 months of unpaid leave. The boss said no. But that $5,000, it didn't pay for the leave, but it gave them the leverage, the guts to go back and negotiate.
Because they knew they wouldn't starve if they got fired for asking.
Exactly. And they got the leave. That's the power. It changes the dynamic of every negotiation in your life.
It changes your relationship with the king. Which brings us to that monk and the minister parable.
Yeah. The rich minister sees the simple monk and tells them, if you just flattered the king, you could eat better food.
And the monk's reply is just perfect.
It is. He says, if you learn to live on rice and beans, you wouldn't have to cater to the king either. Independence is as much about controlling your needs as it is about your bank account.
That mindset shift is everything, moving from being a consumer to being a controller. And that gets us to what they call level 2 thinking. You have to stop thinking about what money can buy right now.
And start thinking about what it can earn for you over time. You have to get past that immediate gratification thing. Look at someone like Mike Tyson. Earned something like $300 million.
Incredible amount of money.
And went bankrupt because he only understood money in terms of buying stuff. That's level 1 thinking.
So what's level 2? How do you define it?
It's mastering one concept, opportunity cost. And not the textbook definition. It's the invisible ghost of the money you could have made.
Okay, I like that. The invisible ghost.
It's what you give up in future growth every time you buy something today.
Let's make that real. Let's make it painful. A $20,000 car. You pay cash.
Okay. So, the level 1 thinker sees $20,000 gone from their account. End of story.
But the level 2 thinker.
The level 2 thinker sees that $20,000 could have been in, say, a total stock market index fund. And historically, that returns about 8% a year.
So that's $1,600. In the first year alone, that's the opportunity cost.
That's just year 1. And this is where the compounding really bites you. Over 10 years, that $20,000 car doesn't just cost you 20 grand. With the lost growth, it costs you way more than $36,000.
Wow.
And that original 20 grand is gone forever, and so is all the money it would have ever earned. So the key insight is this. When you spend money, you lose that money and all the money it could have made. Forever.
So financial independence is the point where the compounding, the snowball effect, is finally bigger than the opportunity cost of your spending.
You got it. That's the crossover point.
Okay, so once you've handled debt, and you're thinking at level 2, you're ready for the main engine of this whole thing, the stock market, which the sources call the most powerful wealth-building tool.
But, and it's a big but, it requires a heavy dose of mental toughness, because it is always, always a wild and rocky ride.
And this is where most people fail, right? Not because they're not smart, but because of psychology.
Exactly. 2 main reasons. First, they try to time the market.
The temptation is overwhelming, isn't it? The market's down 30%, the news is screaming disaster, and your gut just screams, sell, get out.
Your gut is your worst enemy. Our brains are just not wired for this. We panic and sell low when we should be holding or even buying. And then we get greedy and buy high after the recovery's already done. It's the perfect recipe for destroying your own wealth.
Okay, so that's mistake number 1. What's the second?
Believing you can outsmart everyone. That you or some expensive fund manager you hire can pick the winning stocks.
The data on this is just brutal.
It's overwhelming. One big study looked at actively managed funds over 15 years. 82% of them
82%.
failed to beat the simple, unmanaged index. And another study, even longer, 30 years, over 2,000 funds. You know how many showed any real skill at beating the market?
I have a feeling it's a small number.
0.6%.
Wait, less than 1%.
Less than 1%. So for all that complexity, for all those high fees, you're paying for a coin flip that you almost always lose.
The complexity is the trap. The simplicity is where the profit is.
You've nailed it.
So if we strip out all that complexity and self-sabotage, we land on the winning strategy, index funds. And the sources really zero in on one in particular, VTSAX.
Yeah, VTSAX, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. It's recommended because it's the ultimate in, well, simplicity and diversification. You own a tiny piece of basically every public company in the US, about 3,700 of them.
All in one fund.
All in one, super low-cost fund. And there are 2 fundamental reasons why the market, as a whole, always goes up over time, even with all the crashes.
Okay, what's the first one?
They call it self-cleansing. Think of it like a forest fire. The bad companies, the ones that fail, they just drop off the index. They go to 0.
Deadwood gets cleared out.
Right. But they're constantly replaced by new, dynamic winners. And here's the key. A failing company can only lose 100%, but a winner has unlimited upside. 1,000%, 10,000%.
So you only need a few huge winners to more than make up for all the losers? The system is built for growth.
It's structurally designed for it. And the second reason is even simpler. Stocks aren't just tickers on a screen. They're living, breathing businesses full of people working relentlessly to grow and innovate. You're investing in human ingenuity.
It makes it a lot easier to stomach the volatility when you think about it that way. So let's get practical. What are the tools we need? The sources lay out 3 essential ingredients.
Just 3. 1, stocks, specifically VTSAX. That's your engine, your inflation hedge. 2, bonds, like VBTLX, the Vanguard Total Bond Fund. That's for stability, a smoother ride, a deflation hedge. And 3, cash, for emergencies.
Stocks, bonds, cash. And how you mix them depends on your stage in life, right? There are 2 main stages.
Exactly. First is the wealth accumulation stage. That's while you're working, adding new money. The strategy here needs to be aggressive. 100% VTSEX.
100% stocks.
100%. And this is where that mental toughness is everything. When the market drops 30%, you don't see a disaster. You see stocks on sale and you keep buying.
Okay, but I have to ask the question everyone's thinking. If volatility is the big risk, shouldn't a younger person put at least a little bit in bonds, just to be safe?
It's a great question, but the sources argue pretty firmly against it. If you have decades to go, a market drop is the best thing that can happen to you. You're just buying up shares for cheap. Bonds, in that stage, just drag down your long-term growth.
And what about the idea of only investing money you can afford to lose?
You should be investing everything you can possibly save. That's the surplus that buys your freedom. The goal isn't to minimize loss, it's to maximize your exposure to growth and just have the stomach to hold on.
Okay, so that's the accumulation stage. But eventually, you want to live off this money, the wealth preservation stage.
Yes, and once you start drawing an income, you need that smoother ride. So the mix changes. The suggestion is roughly 75% VTSAX, 20% VTLX, and 5% cash.
So you still have growth, but you added a cushion to dampen the volatility.
Exactly, so you don't have to sell stocks when they're down just to buy groceries.
And this all leads to the big goal, financial independence, using the classic 4% rule, which is when 4% of your assets can cover your yearly expenses. Or, another way to put it, you need 25 times your annual spending.
And that brings it all full circle, back to controlling your needs. You control the finish line. I mean, the contrast is so stark. If you can live on $20,000 a year, you only need $500,000 invested to be free.
But if you're Mike Tyson and you need $4.8 million a year?
You need $120 million. It's a choice. Control your spending or spend your whole life trying to build a massive pile of assets.
So what's the final single key takeaway from all this?
It's just the defiant insistence on simplicity.
Yeah.
I mean, complex investments, they really only exist to make the people who sell them rich. The simple path, the index fund path, it's not just cheaper and easier, it is statistically superior.
Right. Fiddling with your investments almost always leads to worse results. So just don't. Focus on your savings rate and your mental game. It brings me back to that story of the guy with the FU money, the one who just screamed at his boss one day and realized he didn't have to be there.
Yeah, that's a great one.
He just quit, cleaned out his desk, and walked out. He said the best part wasn't the money in the bank. It was the pure, absurd freedom of being able to do that.
Yeah.
And that freedom, I mean, that's the most valuable thing money can ever buy.
It really is. And that freedom is bought by understanding risk, which brings us to a final thought. We looked at the Dow. It started the last century at 68. It ended it at almost 11,500. And that rise happened through 2 world wars, a Great Depression, countless disasters. So as an investor, you don't get to choose not to have risk. You only get to choose which kind of risk you accept.
There's always risk, even in safety.
Always. You can choose the short-term volatility of stocks, which history shows gives you handsome long-term returns. Or you can choose the risk of holding cash, which, thanks to inflation, is an almost guaranteed loser over 10 or 20 years. You lose purchasing power every single day. So you have to choose short-term volatility with long-term growth or long-term guaranteed decay. Choose wisely.